Today I'm working with Graphitint pencils. I'm actually using quite a lot. I've got 8-10 of them that I've selected. I'm using this photographic reference. It's a little sparrow that I took a picture in my garden. It's a little bit blurry actually because it was so far away and I've only used the central bit of my photo. So it's not necessarily a great photo, but I'm not too worried about that. I'm not copying it exactly. I've made it maybe a little bit bigger, and I'm going to start just by wetting the lighter areas. Now, I'm just going to gently touch the surface. I'm using a number 10. It's my number 10 classic brush. It's actually a sable. It's lovely. And I'm just going to dab. Now, if I don't want too much water on there, I'll clean my brush, take the liquid out of it. So that's my little light section on the front. It's rather nice. If I don't want the texture, so if I looked at that and I thought, actually, I don't want those little lines, that texture, I just rub it a little bit to get the lines out. But I quite like that because it's kind of got a little fluffy little chest. It's fluffing out there. So that's rather nice. And it's a sort of a yellowy green colour. It's quite subtle. So then I'm going to move on to this part of the body. And it's quite exciting using the Graphitints because, I'll be honest with you, I never quite know until I actually put the water on what colour is where, because you kind of, once you've put the colours on, you kind of forget what you've put where, and it's almost like magic painting when you start to wet it. I'm just going to tap it very gently. Now we've got some strong sunlight today, and I'm hoping this isn't going to make this too bright. It should be okay. I'm in the shadow here. Let's hope so. I just tapping. Now clean the brush out because I'm feeling this might be a little bit wet. No, I think that's okay. So this is looking lovely and soft. It's a little darker section here. This little darker bit under here. And I'm going to continue and do all of this little section here. So I can feel now that there's quite a lot going onto my brush. See, quite a lot. So I'm working from the edge of the little bird back, just dampening it really, not putting too much water on here. And I might get some texture, just a little. And all of these edges will be nice and soft. I'm hoping it's going to look really fluffy. Excellent, I like that. Now I should start to start touching all the reddy browns and orange colours here. Oh, it's just lovely. So this is just Inktense pencils. I'm just gently wetting it. And as soon as I feel like we're picking up a colour, I clean my brush out. It's so important when you're using these Inktense pencils because, sorry, they're Graphitint. These are not the Inktense. These are Graphitint. It's so important, any water-soluble pencils, as soon as you start to pick it up, you've kind of got to make sure you clean the brush. So just gently tapping this. Clean it out again. And this little tail, again I've put a hint of this nice green, which I quite like. So I'm just catching little hints of it in here, very pale. And there's a very light area here, so clean the brush out. I don't want the brush too wet. Just want to soften this a little bit here. I'm looking at this light section. I just want to keep all the edges around there a little bit soft. So clean the brush out again. And then I'm looking at this section. I just want to keep that a little bit soft as well. This is looking really lovely, and it's quite simple. The technique is so simple. But you do have to be careful when you're putting the pencils on the paper that you blend as you go, that you put more than just one colour. It's not like colouring in and then wetting it because you'll just get blocks of colour. What I try to do is blend the colours so that you get multiple colours together. It makes it more interesting. I don't want to lose all that white. I'm going to push that back. Quite like that. That's nice and subtle. A little bit under the eye. And then a little bit of grey here. You've got to be ever so gentle. Really gentle with the point of the brush. Nice and wet. Okay, top of the head. Now I want to be careful here because the beak, I want to keep the beak really lovely shape. Remember, I can always go on the top of this if it's when it's dry. I could always put a little bit more on the top. Just push that back to keep the beak nice and light there. And it's quite dark underneath. I want a nice point here with a brush, really carefully. And then the eye, I'm just going to put a little bit of the dark there. That's lovely. Happy with that. I love all those colours. I might put more on, we'll see. Now, this little twig, it's a little branch. I kind of want to use the brush in this direction because I want it to look like bark. So what I'm not going to do is just run the brush down like this. I can put it on the light section, but I'm not just going to do this because I'll just churn it up. And I've worked quite hard with the pencils to give a little bit of texture in this sort of direction. So I want to maintain that. Just dampen that bit there. Clean the brush out. And then just a little dabbing motion. And that way we'll keep a little bit of texture. Again here. This is where the claws are. And I can't really make them out. Now, you're going to hear that funny little noise. I'll have to tell you. It's my little dog Maggie. And she's just gone into her bean bag. She loves that bean bag, but it is quite noisy. So that's what that funny noise was. Now, although there's a section here that is the bark coming off, I don't really need to make that too exact because the picture is about the bird, not about the bark. So I'm just going to put a little bit on there, and if it looks like the bark, that's good, and if it doesn't matter. So again, down the side where it's quite light, I'm just going to run the wet brush. It'll just pick up a little of the Graphitint, and then I'm going to be using these lovely little sideward marks with the brush, just wetting it. That way I'm going to keep that lovely linear texture. I quite like that. So a little bit, we're going back the other way. And then we've got a little twig here, which is mainly in light. Okay. There we are. So when I look at that, I think what I'll need to do is, when it's dry, I might put a little bit more depth of colour on here. Put it with the dry pencils on the dry paper, and then I'll re-wet it. There's Maggie having a little reshuffle. And I might even do a background on this one, but if I do, it'll be watercolour, and we'll perhaps make it look like there's some green foliage behind. But I'll wait till that dries and then take another look at it.